the improv thing is way simpler than you would ever think, because all it is like skip the scripting process, go right to shooting, and then just let people be themselves, you know? Like, sometimes it's not any more complicated than saying, like, let's just sit and have a 20-minute conversation, and I'll cut like a good 2-minute chunk out of that, or like let's actually just talk as ourselves. And you know, it's funny because some of my work, like, forget about everything for a while, and they get compliments for like writing such natural dialogue, and I'm just like, you know, I'd love to take credit for that and say, yes, I know the human condition so perfectly. I wrote it, and I'm like, no, I just literally said, let's just talk. I'm like, no plan. I'm just like, let's just have a conversation and see where it goes, because I think conversations are inherently compelling. I think there's like conflict that is like in everything we say, you know, that every conversation is a series of questions and answers, and if things don't get answered, that's a whole different conflict. And if you just let conversations happen, they'll be compelling, especially if you have a decisive eye about like when to enter them and leave them, you know. If you edit smartly and you kind of capture knowing somewhat how you're going to edit, you could always turn it into something, you know. And that's the beauty of improv, that the editing is such a powerful part of the storytelling and the story writing. You know, you're writing it, and you definitely experienced that doing Last Day of Childhood. You know, is a very free form film. I can't even picture how one would go so wrong that I don't use it anymore, because it's just, there's no rules and no regulations on like what you're supposed to do or what you're trying to capture, that like you find it somehow. When you talk about improv, people think about something like Pretend That You Love Me or Last Day of Childhood, which is very loose, and it comes across feeling loose. But you know, I just did my movie Drowning in Potential, talking about that. Like, you could do more narrative stuff with improv, and if I were to point to one thing that I think is most exciting about my improv, it's just that. Like, Drowning in Potential, you know, it's a fairly like mumblecore movie. You know, I don't consider it mumblecore. I think it has too much action and excitement in ways for it to be like full blown, just like talking. But you know, it's a full blown like narrative film that was just totally made up on the fly. And you know, we'd shoot scenes, and like it was like a puzzle. You know, each day we'd like figure out like, okay, who can we film with today? Is it just us today? You know, and if we film with people, we just shoot their scenes, plot them on this timeline, and we're tracking, like mentally tracking his character arc. And we're like, okay, we did this today and this today. What goes between there? And it was like day by day building a timeline puzzle that we were just making up as we went. And, you know, figure like each day we didn't know, like some were very spontaneous. Like one scene with our friend Alex Ernst, he has a great scene, but he literally, we're like, hey Alex, you want to be in a movie? He's like, let's do it tonight. And we had no idea. So we literally an hour after we sent the text, we were filming. Anyone coming on my film is going to have a chance to express themselves. And I think that's such a powerful thing, because most films aren't that. Most films are executing. Most films are, you do this, this is your role, this is how I want you to say this is how I want you to do this. But you just know, watching his films, that everyone was kind of given the reins to their character, and they could just do whatever the hell they want. And, you know, even the camera operator is very shaky, very like reactionary. And if there's a life to it that scripting can drain. And of course, there's a lot of scripted films that are beautiful and full of life. But I think John Cassavetes really showed me, like, he showed me I was onto something, because I'm like, okay, this is a valid way to make stuff. It's valid to just grab a camera, you know, trust yourself, trust your friends, and just go for it.